Every NBA team has played about 20 games so far this season, which means exactly what you think it does. The first quarter is over, and just like in school, after the first quarter of the year, it is report card time. In today's video, and in my next video, I will be going through every single NBA team, giving them grades based on how their season is going so far, compared to the expectations that they entered the year with. Obviously, not every team has the same immediate goals, and they're all on different paths and trajectories, so it's not just grades based on where they're at in the standings. In this video, we'll be going through the teams in the Eastern Conference, and then next video we'll finish with the teams in the Western Conference. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but I'd also very much appreciate it. Now with that being said, let's begin. We'll go in alphabetical order, so first up is the Atlanta Hawks, and the grade for their season after the first quarter is a C. At the moment, the Hawks have a losing record, are in 10th place in the East standings, and Trae Young is having another season where he stuffs the stat sheet while simultaneously leaving fans feeling like he could still be doing more because of his subpar efficiency and his defensive woes. This is a team that put together a roster intending to be a playoff team, but having a bottom 5 defense in the league this year is making that goal very difficult, despite also having a top 5 offense. They likely need to make a move to get themselves out of limbo, but at the moment there aren't any obvious moves to make. Next up is the Boston Celtics, and their first quarter grade is an A. The Celtics had a very active offseason where they revamped their roster with an even more star-studded cast, bringing in Jrue Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis to the fold. Obviously, they entered the season expected to be one of the frontrunners to win the title, and to be at the top of the standings, and to put it simply, they have been fully living up to that hype. They're in first place in the Eastern Conference, Porzingis and Holiday have been fitting in very nicely alongside Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and the rest of their cast, and they're dominating both ends of the floor. Up next is the Brooklyn Nets, and their first quarter grade is a B. The Nets didn't necessarily enter the year with lofty expectations. The only thing they were really going for was to be in playoff contention, and well, that is where they are. They're an average roster that was expected to be an average or above average team, and right now with a record of 11-9, they're in the middle of the standings. I'm a big fan of them finally unleashing Cam Thomas regularly. Mikal Bridges has continued to take strides offensively as a number 1 option, and while they should honestly be a better defensive team than they are, there's still time to improve. Next up is the Charlotte Hornets, and their first quarter grade is a C. The Hornets have a very long way to go before they can emerge from the depths of the standings, unfortunately, but they do have a few good things going for them. LaMelo Ball has been balling out the last few weeks, Brandon Miller is looking like a solid two-way wing already as a rookie, and Mark Williams is developing nicely inside as a double-double machine. Up next is the Chicago Bulls, and their grade for the first quarter is an F. The Bulls are at the point where the implosion has already started, and now we're just sitting back and waiting for them to start trading some of their more valuable assets. They have a roster that was put together with the intention of competing for the playoffs, but those are nothing but a pipe dream, so a rebuild is really their only good option at this point. Next up is the Cleveland Cavaliers, and their first quarter grade is a B. The Cavaliers were struck heavily by the injury bug early on, with almost every key player in their lineup besides Max Strus and Evan Mobley missing an extended period of time, but they were still able to stay afloat with those absences, and now that everyone is back healthy, they're getting into the swing of things. Max Strus is proving to be a good addition for them, and Craig Porter Jr. is a sneaky talent to keep an eye on after going undrafted. Up next is the Detroit Pistons, and their first quarter grade is an F. To be completely honest, there isn't a lot to be excited about in Detroit. They entered the year hoping to take a step forward after a few years of rebuilding, but their outlook has arguably never been more bleak. They have the worst record in the whole NBA because most of their young talent doesn't seem to fit together on the court, and nobody can competently space the floor for them. Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren are two glaring bright spots on an otherwise dreary roster filled with busts and middling talent. Next is the Indiana Pacers, and their first quarter grade is an A. The Pacers are one of the most exciting, electrifying, and captivating teams in the league this year. At the current moment, they have the best offense in the NBA, with an offensive rating that would break the NBA record for best offensive rating ever, and it has them firmly in the playoff race and in the semifinals of the in-season tournament. Tyrese Halliburton is proving to be one of the best offensive talents in the whole league too, but the big issue with them and the entire team as a whole is their horrific defense that ranks in the bottom 3 of the NBA, so their games tend to feature both teams scoring a lot, running up and down the floor. Up next is the Miami Heat, and their first quarter grade is a B. The Heat are doing what they always seem to do during the regular season, which is always just good enough. Tyler Hero has missed a good amount of time due to injury early on, and in his absence, Bam Adebayo has been showing noticeable improvement as a scorer, and Jimmy Butler has actually been trying in the first month of the season for once. They also found a gem of a talent in the draft with Jaime Jaquez, and they're in the middle of the standings, getting by with what they have for now. Next is the Milwaukee Bucks, and their first quarter grade is an A-. The Bucks made a huge trade for Damian Lillard this offseason, and with it came hype and expectations of a group that would dominate the East. The new-look Bucks have definitely been good, as they're a half game behind the Celtics for first place, but their defense did take a pretty big hit, which needs to be acknowledged, and they by no means look unbeatable, despite their new superstar pairing. Up next is the New York Knicks, and their first quarter grade is a B+. The Knicks are an above-average group, having an above-average season so far. Jalen Brunson is balling out, Randall and Barrett are good yet inconsistent as usual, Mitchell Robinson dominates the glass and plays very good interior defense, and then they've got a plethora of two-way wings scattered throughout the rotation playing pretty well for them. They've beaten the teams they're supposed to beat this year, but don't really have a notable win over a quality opponent on their resume yet, so they still have a bit more to prove. Next is the Orlando Magic, and their first quarter grade is an A+. That's right, the Magic get the best grade on their report card because they have come out of nowhere and established themselves as a group you cannot overlook. They're in third place in the Eastern Conference standings, with quality wins over the Nuggets, Lakers, and Bucks. Their success starts with their top 3 ranked defense, and they've got arguably the deepest rotation in the NBA right now, capable of going 12 men deep. Up next is the Philadelphia 76ers, and their first quarter grade is an A-. The general populace expected the Sixers to fall off a cliff after the James Harden fiasco, but they're still hanging around the top 4 of the Eastern Conference standings, thanks to Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey embracing more of the playmaking and actually performing even better offensively under new head coach Nick Nurse. They're the second-ranked offense in the league right now. Kelly Oubre was a very underrated addition for them, and with wins over the Celtics, Thunder, Lakers, and Suns so far, they're showing they can still hang with the best teams. Next is the Toronto Raptors, and their first quarter grade is a C-. The Raptors, like the Bulls, seem to be playing on borrowed time, whether they like it or not. They're in 11th place in the East with a team that has a very limited ceiling, and they refuse to shift their focus to the future. This offseason was the perfect opportunity to move some of their expiring assets, but they doubled down on trying to put together a playoff-caliber team, and it's not looking like it's that realistically attainable based on where they're at in the standings. And finally, the last team up is the Washington Wizards, and their first quarter grade is a D. I don't think anybody expected the Wizards to be a good basketball team this year after trading away Bradley Beal and shifting towards a rebuild, but when they haven't even been able to get much out of their newly acquired talent, that's a problem. Jordan Poole has somehow regressed in a bigger role, Tyus Jones hasn't really taken much of a leap despite finally getting a starting point guard job, and overall, they are dreadful defensively. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below how you would grade these teams so far. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.